video because my internet is super bad. So let's hope.
See what happens. Okay. Welcome everyone to the mid-year training of, oh yeah, let's pause. Welcome everyone to your mid-year officer training, and I am your facilitator, Vicki Nettling. I'm coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. For those of you that don't know me, I am a past region advisor for Region 2 in California. During the pandemic from 2019 to 2021, I was a region advisor, and that was such a great experience that now, after retiring from UPS as a project manager in 2018, I began a career as a speaker, trainer, coach, and a podcast host to Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. So check that out. You can go to YouTube and search by my name, Vicki Nettling, or you can go to findyourleadershipconfidence.com. There's in the short year and a half, almost two, well, it will be 2 years in March. I have almost 300 episodes out there. So check all of those out. And we will now get into the training that you all came to hear. And that is, how do you become a great VP of education? And I would say that this is one position that I always recommend you have people that you work with, find some folks to be your assistants so that you aren't overwhelmed, but also it gives great training ground for future VPEs as well as future presidents, because of the ability that you have to understand the education program as well as how to mentor people. It makes for a great president and also a great candidate for area director and division director, because you understand so much of how it is to have a quality club. So let me share my screen. I hate to do PowerPoint, but with Toastmasters training, we have to do PowerPoint. There we go. So sharing the slides. Let me see which slide you're seeing. Are you seeing the one that has, let me just do duplicates so that I see it on both my screens. There we go. So for us today, I have slightly updated the slides to be more reflective of where we are. But we are going to talk about Toastmasters VP roles and responsibilities, but also I try to throw in some best practices that I've learned over 20, oh gosh, now it's 28 years I've been a Toastmaster. So we're going to check on what the mission is, the familiarity of pathways and what's coming, accessing the leadership tools, managing your club, leading a quality club, that success plan, really, which is your foundational document. It's a living document, and how we should try to use it. We'll have some discussion on that. Understanding your role, both outside the club, during, after, all those things. And then some other resources that I think should be helpful for you. We always try to start any session just as a reminder of everyone of the Toastmasters promise. And this is something that you should keep as a VPE. You should use this really as your sort of barometer of what a good mentor should understand, what a quality club requires, and really what makes a member or a guest that comes to a meeting want to stay at a meeting. So it is all about attending regularly so that you get the benefits. This is a self-paced program, which means that you determine how long, how much time you are going to put into your self-development. You are the person that's paying for this in most cases. And so it is truly what you put in is what you'll get out. Are you preparing for your projects? Are you going to make sure that you fulfill all of your meeting assignments. We have a thing in several of my clubs that we call the full circle, and it's done twice a year, reflecting on, did you do all of the roles in the club in 6 months? Were you a counter, grammarian, timer, all those things? And what that does is it just kind of pushes you a little bit outside your comfort zone. You may be okay being timer or a counter, but you hesitate being general evaluator or even a speaker. And the whole purpose of you being here is to grow as a communication and leadership individual. And so that's why we have the thing like the full circle. And if you would like to have that graphic and tool that I have, I'm happy to share it. You can put that in the chat. Right now I have my chat down, so if you put it in, I'll be saving the chat at the end. You want to remember that it's important that you have this quality club, so that you need to do all you can do to treat your members with respect, courtesy. Again, make them feel welcome. That's part of our mission. So speaking of a mission, let's just go right there. Everybody should know this. As an officer, please understand that it is important that you know this. And really, we say the mission so that if we meet somebody on the street and they say, what the heck's a Toastmasters? You can say it is that we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And I can tell you, in all of these years and hundreds of adults and thousands of students that I've worked with on our program, it does do just that. So if you are not using this Moments of Truth as part of your VPE, I call them education moments, you should really do that. So even every couple months, deal with just one of these sections as your education moment. I usually take about 5 to 10 minutes, and we just talk about the different aspects of Moments of Truth. It's a great tool as a survey for your members, but doing it just once a year, I don't think is enough. So, work for a little bit as, again, I call them my education moments in the meeting, to talk about first impressions. So it not only gives the new people some understanding of what to expect, but it's a great reminder for folks. I'm going to just stop sharing just for a second so I could see your lovely faces and ask some questions about that. So, how many of you use Moments of Truth? And how do you use it? Go ahead, Colleen. How do you use it?
Well, thank you, Vicki. How we used it is not going to be anymore. How you use it is what I want to plan for the future, because I think it's not a bad idea if we do start like July 1st and September 1st, whenever everybody's back, and take one segment a month or a meeting. I think that's a great idea. In the past, what I've done it once or twice a year, and using Post-its. And so everybody breaks into groups and discusses one particular thing, and then everybody puts the Post-its up on the board, and then I share the Post-its. But I think maybe doing it as you're suggesting, that keeps it fresh longer. And so I was living in the past, now I'm going to the future.
And especially if your club, like my original club that I founded, my UPS corporate club, it's 28 years old, and so you have new members, you have old members. I'm the member when I was region advisors, those 5 districts I supported were the original districts of Toastmasters, the Founders District, District 1, District 12. And so there were people there that had been Toastmasters for 60 years. And so, everybody needs to have some refresh, a little pump up, a little jolt to remind them of why they came. I love that the earlier presenter talked about remembering why you joined. And as a VPE, that's what you constantly have to do, is remind people, why did you join? Think about that first speech. Sometimes people think, they just take for granted that they been there, done that, got the t-shirt. How many icebreakers have I done? Thousands of icebreakers in my Toastmaster career, and even now in my speaking career. So think about that. Things could get stale, could get old, and it's great reminder. So moments of truth. Anyone else before we move on?
Yes, I also wanted to explain how we do it in our club. So we are, I think, a fairly new club. We are a corporate club, and we're close to 40 members. So as such, we're doing really well. And I think we were founded in 2021. So we're, doing quite well. So what we did when we established the club was really reach out to other Toastmaster clubs, and we really learned from them, like how you have to do your VP education role, how you want to welcome, for instance, those new guests in the meetings. All of those components were, discussed, and we brought them together. And then throughout the years, we were rotating all of the roles, and that allowed us to always add additional information to the role or have a fresh look at that. And what you were saying is keep it fresh is super important. So for instance, my past role was actually VP membership. We looked in, like, how does the onboarding go? What's the first step? We funneled it, and we even today have, and I'm not sure if every Toastmasters club has that, we actually have like a Visio flow map where we've mapped all of the roles, how the exact flow goes from who does what. And throughout the onboarding, for instance, they will meet so many of those officers because we really defined the exact steps which are taken, and we really follow that. And also now I transitioned into the VP membership, the VP education role since September. And also now we are reassessing, like, okay, what was the old way of doing it? I was trained in that, and now we're adding to that. And I love the fact that you shared the moments of truths, because it's like a very objective evaluation form. Like, are we still doing this? And are there better ways of doing that? And that is exactly, what you are referring to. We have to keep things fresh, because if we just allow it, like, oh, it's established, it's done, then we kind of start eroding it. So you continuously have to keep it fresh and updating that.
And you made a great point. And as officers in your executive meeting, sometimes people struggle. Well, what are we going to talk about? You give your reports on how things are going, but maybe you don't understand what you should touch on. And so I always work with the president to figure out what that agenda is going to be. And the moments of truth is great. I was a project manager for 20 years and long time. And KPI, so key performance index, so indicators. And so you really can use the moments of truth. How are we as officers welcoming new members? How are we doing the orientation? How are we helping people to move through pathways? And do we need to do more to inspire and motivate people for the education program? So keep that in mind too, as another way to use moments of truth. All right, I'm going to share my screen back again and again. I apologize for using PowerPoint, but it will keep us on track. Okay, so where were we? We were down here to moments of truth, I believe. Why is it not moving? There we go. Mission, we did. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is pathways. And I know that it was just talked about, but I think you still had some questions. So we're going to spend a bit of time, because as VPE, you're the one that's going to get these questions. And I will I'll keep my email address, which is V first initial last name at gmail.com. So that's VNOETHLING at gmail.com. I'll put it at the end. But as a region advisor, I get to know what's going on in advance. And so if you have questions about the new LMS and things like that, feel free to send me those questions. I'm happy to answer them. Your district specific region advisor is also a great resource. They are current region and they know things as well as take advantage of your division, area, and district director roles to answer those questions you have. But ask them. I was a region advisor during a lot of changes, and I know how the system works well. And so the system works well when you, the members who we are there to support, ask the questions so that we can keep you informed. So please, as LMSs roll out, as was mentioned, be patient, but also ask questions so that you stay informed. If you as officers stay informed, so will the comfort level of your members be. All right, so, and I'm going to keep these because I'm going to go back and forth as mentioned earlier, just to keep us out of in this PowerPoint stuff. But Basecamp is going to be upgraded, and it's going to allow us to do what we as VPEs have complained about since even before Pathways. Some of you were not involved with the traditional method, but it was horrible compared to Pathways, and now this new method should be even better so that everything is in one place. We had, you had to do the stuff in Pathways, then you had to go to Club Central and do the education piece to get that level approved and the path finally approved. And so all that will be integrated and make it so much easier for everyone, that it's really going to be one click to be able to do what you need to do, and to have it in a mobile, which is why there are only the 6 paths. The current mobile app capability only will allow for that amount. Once we get all of the people off of that are finished with the traditional ones, if you will, the ones that they're currently working on that are not going to be part of Pathways, then they'll be able to expand that mobile app to others. But right now, to be able to support both things, the mobile app only can support those 6 current. So that's one of the reasons for that. So again, easier navigation, you'll be able to use your cell phone. When you complete a path, it's automatically going to be able to be submitted for recognition in Club Central. No 2-step thingy going on anymore. You'll be, if there's any of your members that are visually impaired, they'll have access to that website and that information, which is a very important thing for Toastmasters International to have done. And also you'll be able to share your accomplishments. If you are very active like I am in social media, you'll be able to share that across the various social media, including LinkedIn, which if you aren't using LinkedIn, it is, especially those of you that are in the corporate world, as was mentioned earlier, it is really a must, because those are the people that are looking for it. One of my clubs that we started just in 2021 is just a club of entrepreneurs, speakers, trainers, coaches. So they are looking for solutions like Toastmasters just as much as someone in a corporate environment. So keep that in mind as you are messaging out on the social media to try to gain people. If you are a corporate closed club, then there are certain corporate versions of LinkedIn that I would suggest you use as well. And we will get more frequent updates to content and changes. So those new LMS paths as they come out. These are the projects you saw earlier that will be available. So presentation mastery is always going to be there just because it is the basic. Anyone that is just trying to dip their toe into that speaking world, this is the presentation path that you would want to use. Persuasive influence and motivational strategies are ones that really rank high in usage, and that's why they remain, because in business, in life, we are always trying to persuade and motivate people. And how can we do that better? And so those two programs are wonderful. Dynamic leadership and visionary communication are really wonderful for helping you stay focused on growing as a leader. A leader transition sometimes is going from more of an operational, I did the work, I was a non-management person. Now I have to have that hat on, that mindset of management, which means I need to be more strategic in my thinking. And that means that the dynamic leadership and the visionary communication are two really important paths for those. When I mentor or when I do orientation with new people, I ask them, where do you want to be in 6 months? And that's the path you should choose. So you can go through and do the assessment, but when you do the assessment, do it with that in mind. Where do I want to be in 6 months? And do the assessment with that thought. The results will be more towards giving you the better solution. But there was a question that was asked earlier, and it was, how can I see all of the projects in all the paths? So I wanted to grab these two resources. There was one that was mentioned, I think, by you, Colleen, or maybe not you, but about the Learning Hub. So that's there. The Navigator is a great tool for orientation if you're not using it. The other is, you can go 2 different ways to find all the path information. You can choose a path, and you can get to that bottom URL under education as well. When you do choose a path, it gives you the option of selecting your language and then selecting different paths. And underneath that, it says, show me all paths. And when you click on that, it shows all the different paths. And below each of the paths in that particular iteration of the website, it says, show me all projects. The other link below there, the Toastmasters.org, education pathways, 20%, all that. That is a direct link to all the paths. And you click on them to be able to see all the projects under the paths. So those are 2 things that if you don't use that now as a VPE, that's the first thing that I do with the folks in orientation, is I take that new member through that. Or if I have a member that's been in their path, they just finished it, now they're like, what's next? So I'll take that existing member through this exercise of, let's just talk about where you want to go and kind of guide them through it. So for you as the VPE, if you are not familiar with all the different paths, and now it's only 6, so it's easier to do, I would go and I would look at all those things and get familiar with the projects that are especially in levels 3, 4, and 5 that have the really path specific projects to help guide your people. So that's the 2 areas that I would be using in the VPE. So I just want to stop a minute. I'm not going to stop sharing, but I'd love for any comments about what we shared just now.
I have a small question, Vicky. These links, so we will move to a new LMS, but these links, they connect to the current LMS or not?
They're to the current LMS, but we're not going to be moving to the new LMS till whatever date, March or whatever it is. So I would still try to use this for current, and it could be that the path that they create in the new LMS is going to be similar wording, if you will, to this. I know you was a technology project manager. And so when we transitioned to new paths, we tried to keep the URLs to the new technology as current as possible. So just keep that in mind. But this is where all of as the LMS is rolled out, there will be from Toastmasters International training and URL and information shared with your district leaders that will share with you all, as well as the later on, I have a slide for a link that is for pathways updates. And you should keep, as the VPE of education, you should keep looking at that from time to time. You should get information in the newsletter informing us of changes that are coming. And so that would then also link you to the updates. But that was a good question.
And then
Hi, hello.
out of my
Yes.
curiosity, I just want to have one small question, because I'm a digital learning consultant. I work in the e-learning business. I really would like to know, because I cannot find anywhere, to which LMS are we moving? Which provider are you moving to?
I have not been shared that, but if you guys put in the chat your emails, anything that I find out, I'll let you know.
It's a big secret. It's
No,
nowhere to be found.
well, it's probably not a big secret. When we did the pathways originally, nobody told them that was Cornerstone. Even I used, and it was interesting, when it was rolling out, I was also rolling out a program for UPS using Cornerstone. And so all of the pain and agony that Toastmasters was going through, or went through, I went through when I rolled out Cornerstone as well. They were wonderful to work with, but there were just certain glitches because we were asking, just as Toastmasters was asking, for things that the system just wasn't able to do yet. So, but we never told anyone what the name of the application was. But if I find out, I'll be happy to share. So go ahead and make sure y'all put your contact information into the chat, and I will share that, and I will save that and get back with you. Right.
Yeah, Vicky, I just wanted to introduce myself because I joined around half an hour ago. I had a family brunch earlier and I couldn't join you earlier. So I just wanted to say hi, everyone. I'm Chiara, and I'm a VP Education of Aperitivo Toastmasters in Brussels, which is the Italian English club. And I'm kind of a newbie in Toastmasters. So I joined 1 year ago and recently as a VP Education, because it's a small club I'm part of. So thank you very much for the training. And yeah.
And Colleen, is your club a large club or is medium or small? What size is your club?
Oh, it's a struggling club. We're still suffering from COVID and losing all our big members. So we have about 12 active members, and I think we have maybe 15 on the books.
So one of the things that I would suggest, since this is a really small group, and do you all do virtual or only in person or a hybrid? Who does in person?
Mainly in person, yes.
Okay.
And sometimes hybrid, because Simone Rossano, which is a VP membership of Aperitivo that was here before, he's active and he's working on making it hybrid. So every other month, sometimes we do it hybrid. If there is someone that is registering, then we also do it hybrid.
It's quite difficult hybrid, because we do it, we ask people if they want to join online, but they don't really can follow. The sound is not so good, and so it's a challenge if you want to do it hybrid.
One of the things that I'll be probably offering in 2024 is some workshops on doing hybrid, because even before COVID, as a project manager, I did hybrid meetings with my career as a project lead. So I have some experience in that. And now I do podcasting heavily. So I think that I can help overcome that. When I took over as a region advisor for California, and again, I was in Georgia, I only was allowed to visit my groups for that first 6 months in 2019. And then COVID hit. And when I visited them in person, they complained about the density of California and not being able to find members, or the members couldn't make it because traffic was so terrible, or they couldn't get from work to their club location. And so I said to them, well, why don't you do hybrid? And they all told me I was crazy, that it won't work, and you can't teach online, you can't speak online effectively, you can't connect with your audience. And then COVID hit, and we quickly were able to pivot to all of those things that they said they couldn't do. So it's really a mindset piece that you have to get over with. And I think if you can make sure that you do it well 1 or 2 times, you're able to really connect. Another thing that we do is some of my clubs only meet online or in person once a month, and then we meet online the rest of the time. Where if you're in person all the time, you might just say, we'll have one meeting that is online. And so that way you can grow your membership and have each of your clubs that you hear, this small group, could say, well, let's have a joint meeting this day, and pick a time and have a special kind of expanded agenda, if you will. But it allows now all of a sudden 30 people to be in a meeting as opposed to 6, So that's something that you could try. Yes, Colleen.
Yeah, since you're talking hybrid, one of the clubs in Division A, District 59, La Défense, they've decided to do one meeting a month online, and the next meeting is live. And this has allowed anybody where there's not a club to attend. And also they have a global audience. So that's another thing.
Yeah.
But for us, it's only live.
So my UPS clubs do that. We have online meetings, and then we have in-person meetings, and they're not doing any, but the in-person meeting we actually make hybrid, so that we have some people that are from other countries as well as other cities that join us, and that still allows them that opportunity. Again, if you are not comfortable with hybrid, having that one meeting in person, one meeting online allows for a smoother move. And as you get more comfortable, you can maybe drip in every so often a hybrid meeting. All right, we're going to move on. So I want to talk about scheduling, and there are several options that you can use. You can do the old-fashioned, which is Excel or PowerPoint or Google Sheets. You can use Free Toast Host, which is available in Europe, and I prefer actually to Easy Speak because it allows for you to put in your project and your evaluation form right in the agenda. It allows the people to easily sign up for and get out of the assignment if they have to. And it allows you to select that, yes, I'm available, not, which Easy Speak does as well. So for my UPS Toastmasters in Brussels that I attend and am VPE of, we use Easy Speak. And so I'm getting more comfortable with that system. And I know that that's used in Europe and other countries as well. But so I just wanted to give you some options. We'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute. And then you should determine how you want to do this as a club. The new clubs may be trying to figure that out. Older clubs may have a way that they've always done it, and maybe it's time to think about it. a lot of folks, whenever you don't have people signing up for roles, they think, well, okay, I'm going to assign roles. Well, then you have to worry about, are they going to be at that meeting? So as a VPE, I find it very challenging to assign roles to people as opposed to letting them select. And I do that at the end of my meetings. I select for the next meeting. And therefore, I'm only looking for a few people to fill roles in that week between the meetings, then making an assignment for the next 3-5 months and people saying, oh, well, I have this project I can't come to because my work isn't, not allowing it, or, I don't want to speak, all those things. So again, this is a self-paced self-development, and we should be accountable for our self-development. Yes, Colleen.
Yeah, this is my second time over a couple of years as VP Ed, and what I've gone back to again is choosing the TMEs for maybe a 6-month period or longer based on their role history. And that's one of the things you can do with Easy Speak, find out who's done what, TME or GE, how many times. And now I told them, this is what I'm going to do. And now I've made the list, and now I'll send it to them. And I already said, if the date is bad for you, call somebody else and switch. And so we'll see how this year goes with that. But that's another plan ahead.
Yeah. And so what I do is, and I think it's going to come up on the next slide, I do plan 3 months in advance. Like in Free Toast Host, I create the agendas 3 months in advance. But the thing with Free Toast Host is I don't need to fill in the roles. With Easy Speak, I have them, I think, 2 months out, and it has an automated email system that's better than what Free Toast Host has, which is a plus for Easy Speak, that lets you say, okay, will you be available? And then I can change it if they say no. You have to just set the expectations and almost the requirement. Hey, people, you need to look, this is out there 3 months. You need to make a commitment that you're going to try to get to a certain goal. So I want to speak every quarter, at least once or twice. I want to be Toastmaster of the Day. I want to be General Evaluator. And again, that's where, as VPE, if you have that full circle that I talked about, that tool that we use, it allows you to see what the person can do. Easy Speak does show you, as Colleen mentioned, the roles that they've already had to help to guide them on what they need to do to really fulfill and make their experience as a Toastmaster, I guess, a better one. And then again, if you don't use either of those, you can use Excel and Google Sheets, but it's a far more manual process, taking more of your time that you don't have. All right.
Hi, yeah, Vicky.
Yes.
So indeed, so I'm from Campus Speakers. We're a corporate club, and we actually prefer to Excel, how basic that sounds. So what we do for each season, so a season is 6 months. So we are now in the last season, and then for the full, so now for September and already started for 2024, we have like the first season of 2024 all dated out. We have assigned all of the rooms and locations. Members are given the full, we make sure to send like calendar invites to their meetings so they know exactly like, okay, it's in our calendars. And we always share a link to the Excel, which is on a SharePoint that everyone can access. And we have all of our dates or meeting rooms, the roles, and then it's really up to them to to put themselves really on that Excel. That's really key. We noticed it's actually working so well. I think we're already now trying, because we have 2 to 3 sessions each month, and we're now filled up to about mid-February. with the majority of the speeches, and then there is still always a bit of room for like the supporting roles. So I would say the speeches you have to plan well in advance, and it's really nice to see that people are really planning their speeches well ahead. We always have a free time slot that can only be allocated for icebreakers. That means if you join as a member, that you will be in that first month typically be able to do your icebreaker, which we really encourage people to do. But the Excel actually works, so I wouldn't exclude Excel as a cumbersome tool, because for us it's actually very sufficient, efficient. And I do understand, because we're a corporate club, we have a supporting environment for that. That means we have a SharePoint where everything can be on, which is also different perhaps than other clubs have.
Whenever I say it's not as efficient, for example, for Free Toast Hosts, it's all done in one. So as the people do their assignments or select a role for out 6 months, the agenda is created. So I don't have to go back and create the agenda. When they say that they want to be a speaker, they select right there their path and the project, and the evaluation is put right into the agenda. So for my efficiency, it's much more efficient to use that all-in-one tool as opposed to an Excel. Yes, I can plan things out, but then I have to go and create those separate agendas and be able to have the evaluation forms. The communication between the speaker and the evaluator has to be done so that the evaluator has the form. So it's just much more efficient. Yes, Chiara?
Yes. I just wanted to share the experience of Aperitivo Club. It seems like for a corporate club, it's much easier, right? Because you use Outlook, and then you have your work calendar, and then you can block, and then, it feels like, whereas for our club is a bit trickier. It's not that easy to really, and also many people, I don't know whether it's something we only have, many have issues with Easy Speak. So we have, including me, when we log in. So either I log in just by clicking on the link I received by email, but if I go to Easy Speak and then I have to log in with my username and password, it freezes, like I cannot enter. It keeps saying that my password is wrong, is not correct. But then even though I create a new one, then it blocks. It's just a circle. And this is not only for me, but many of our club members. So that's also why sometimes they do not use Easy Speak. They do not just, I have to text them or usually WhatsApp them asking whether they are going to join, and then I insert them myself because they have issues with Easy Speak, and it's a huge problem.
I actually have issues with Easy Speak myself, but but maybe Colleen, do you use Easy Speak? Or
we do, and I know that Malcolm is looking for anyone who has PHP experience, because I think they need a lot of work. And so we do use Easy Speak, but we have to be careful because the members are mixing up Easy Speak and Pathways. And when I do orientation, I always put in the equal with a slash sign, because they do not speak to each other. And but they don't always remember that. But we do use it, but it needs updating.
So let me show you.
But we're also using Easy Speak, but we don't have problems like you, Chiara.
No?
So sometimes we have problems with passwords, but then as a VP Ed or someone of the Exco, we can reset the password, and
then
we
it
don't
works.
have any issues.
Okay.
But we reset it as an administrator.
Okay,
so we don't
because almost half of us, we have issues, but I will check again. Good to know that.
we like Easy Speak. So in our Toastmasters, we don't have an issue.
Okay.
So I'm going to share with you.
Vicky, I received through the chat a question of Colleen, and I do want to answer it because I think it might be useful for all of the audience here. And one of her question was, there are other clubs that only meet monthly. How did you persuade the members and company to meet twice a month? I think that's a very good question. And I think the benefit of a corporate club is that the people who join are very interested in building the skills. And I think the motivation there is it's very much there because they really see it as a development point for themselves. They sometimes put it in their individual goals and objectives, which we all have to write out. We're at J&J, at Johnson & Johnson. That means we always have to do that. And they actually put that in as a development point. And that also puts them that they have to follow that through, right? The commitment level is very high amongst members. We do really notice they don't have to come every time. We do advise once a month. That's a bit, but a lot of them just join whenever they can. And that's, it happens that we have an unfilled role, for instance, could be that we miss an evaluator. And then one of our officers takes that role just the day before. We look into the agenda. We say, oh, is there any role that's missing? Or perhaps someone fell ill, and we kind of fill that. So that's how we do it. And it works really well. Typically, we have a good attendance. Because we're a young club, we really have an active membership still. Could be that if you're already longer in the club, that you say, oh, I just want to downgrade my commitments, or to say to maybe once a month. But at this moment, we see that people who start in our club really see it as an investment well worth, and they really want to upskill. They typically, what I guess is they want to do it for a year or maybe 2 years, perhaps not even 20 years, right? They really see it as I want to build skills quickly and I really want to go for it. And that's also an audience that you can have. And I think sometimes we think, oh, when you join Toastmasters, we want you to be a live member, but maybe we are just having an audience that says, you know, we really want to build strong skills very soon. And we see a high engagement. But the question is, could be that 2 years from now, they all say, okay, let's do something else. And then we have new members. So Colleen, does that answer your question? And if it's not, or you have additional questions, please let me know.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point about putting the pressure on them in a sense. You know, these are your development skills. You're going to have to answer to your company, and what do you want to learn? And how often? How long is your meeting?
An hour and a half.
Okay, because they're doing 1 hour, and we're like, no, that's not going to be enough. But we don't know when to break them into this. Thanks.
So again, my corporate.
So clubs... sorry, we do from. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, we're 1 hour and a half. We do, and we do it over lunchtime.
Yeah.
So that means it's also a daytime meeting. And so we basically say to members, you basically sacrifice your lunch hour. Right? That's what you do. So instead of having lunch with your colleagues, you actually have a Toastmasters session. So it's not in the evening after hours. It's really during that time you are at work. And because people are already at work, it's so much easier because it's not something additionally they have to do at the end of the day. And I think that's also quite different.
So for all my corporate clubs, they we at UPS, we started that we met every week. And the reason was because a lot of us traveled. And just to your point, if you can only come to 1 meeting a month, at least that's growth and development. So having the meetings every week, if you don't have 100%, that's fine. You know, even if you only have 6 people, it's still, you can have a value benefits of that meeting. But we actually changed our meetings about 7 years ago to 45 or an hour long. But we have 15 minutes at the beginning of the meeting of networking. And we did that because people were they were having their meetings, other meetings, non-Toastmaster meetings that would take them till noon. And then they would say, well, I can't get to your noon meeting because we don't want to arrive and the meeting's already underway. So we had, okay, we're going to have the first 15 minutes is for networking. If everyone arrives on time, then we'll have the full hour. But we have quality meetings that are only 45 minutes long. We cut down the speeches to just 2 speeches and table topics, and everything else is the normal part of the meeting. And it works fine. And for the past 7 years. So you have to be able to pivot as the people. You want to take away excuses for not attending. And as a new club, I do often find that the engagement and the attendance is really well and high. what happens is when you're 20 years and you have a mixture of people that are new and old and middle ways, then you have to find ways to accommodate that diverse audience. And so I rarely recommend once a month, because chances are, like for me with my busy schedule, when it's once or even twice a month, there's a good possibility I can't attend either meeting. And then I miss a whole month. Now I'm a member of 6 clubs, so it's not going to hurt me. But for those that only have one club, if you miss that, then that's a problem. So again, find ways that you can work and accommodate. And that's where, again, we go back to moments of truth and talking to your members about what's working and being willing to change when change is needed. Okay, let me go back to where we are in our presentation. All right. And one more. Okay, so the next slide we have is, there we go, the tools. There are a couple tools that Toastmasters has on site that you can be able to use in your orientation of your folks to be able to understand the roles in the meeting. I do and I could share it with everyone. One of my clubs, oh, and I did want to share too, Free Toast with you, but my Rising Phoenix Club is a community club, and they have been President's Distinguished 12 of the 13 years. And our membership stays around 25, 30 people. And I always advised people when I was region advisor that when you get your club to be 40, 45 people, you should start to think of having a second club, a second day if you don't want to start a second club. Because what happens is there's how you sometimes lose members because they don't get to see the value and benefit because they're not being speaking as often or having roles or feeling as engaged. So keep that in mind. While it's great to have a lot of members, if you can't support the members because of the size of the membership, then that's not a good thing either for our brand. So keep that in mind, especially in corporate. Whenever I started the UPS corporate club at the headquarters, I had 75 people sign up. 300 people came to my demo meeting. So obviously I had a large audience of people that saw a need to improve themselves. Within a year, I started the second club, and that club is 27 years in existence. So don't think, well, I can't start it because we can't support 2 clubs. That is not the case. And so you have that tool. And then the Yodlee is a tool that was introduced during the pandemic, just before the pandemic. And it's just it's an AI program to be able to allow you to have your speech is evaluated. So if you don't have time to meet with your mentor to go through your speech, Yodlee is a great tool, but it also kind of teaches you how to be a good evaluator as well. So keep those 2 tools in mind. And Club Central has, I'm sure, going to have a little improved look and feel as we move forward, but here you have your education awards, making sure that you're doing those timely. Members management. I am always pulling down the members, especially if you're adding new members, to make sure I get their current information. And so all of the tools are right here for you. The Distinguished Performance Report is something that I will pull out for one of my education moments in my meetings, to just let the folks know where we are, get familiar with why we do the DCP, to make sure that they understand that it's not for checking boxes, but it really shows if we're a quality club or not. And it ties so nicely to the success plan. And then the next thing is shared responsibilities. All of the officers, and I think you all know this as being VPEs, but all the officers' responsibility is to make sure that everybody comes and is welcomed, especially guests. And I constantly hear that when we ask at the end of the meeting, what did you think of the meeting? People will say, but we felt so welcome. And especially if you explain in the beginning of the meeting as Toastmaster of the day, how the meeting flows, the different roles are explained, that makes that guest feel more engaged and comfortable in the meeting. The energy that you bring, as in anything, is going to make the difference in whether or not that meeting is a great meeting. So be enthusiastic, be energized, and make sure that the folks feel that and are expressing it for themselves as well. The success plan is a living document. Your executive meeting should always have a review of where you are with that. And as I said, at the end of our meetings, we always kind of go through the officers real quick to see if they have any updates for our club as to how we're doing in the various goals of our success plan. Just because you're an officer and you're not VPM doesn't mean you shouldn't find people and bring people and promote Toastmasters. So that's bring one is a great motto to have. Attend training executive meetings. You're doing that now. Promote participation. Oh no. So we're done already. Oh, that's interesting. And then before the meeting, obviously we discussed the scheduling piece. After the meeting, we make sure that we do our base camp so that the people see that we did acknowledge that they have finished a project. And then outside of the meeting, we discussed all this in previous slides. And we ask questions throughout, but does anybody have any further questions?
I don't have any questions. Thanks a lot, Vicky.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
for being
thank
part
you.
of this. And again, if you did put your information in, I'll make sure you get the recording.
That
Thank
would be
you.
great. Thanks a
Okay,
lot.
awesome.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Bye.
Have a nice day.